Good morning, everyone. Pulling up the other one to make our check like we do as we're live. Make sure everything is good to go. So as we do this, let folks join in, and then we'll get into today's discussions and see where we're at. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're good. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're good. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're in business. So shut that down. Get my stuff back up. My notes. Good morning, everyone. Thomas C. Davis here. And you are now watching The Ground Truth from TN4. Today is the 17th of July, 2026, and it is the first day of early voting here in Tennessee. And I hope all of you make your way out to the polls at some point over the course of the early voting and then election day. So early voting is July 17th through August 1st, and then election day is on August 6th. And I actually ran into a guy yesterday, who had already voted for me. He had a mail-in ballot due to his, there are some reasons that folks get the mail-in ballots here. He was one of them, said he'd already voted for me. So we're already working it. So definitely appreciate that. All the votes as we've gone into this, especially the last few months have been good. A lot of folks coming on, support, votes, financial contributions, people putting signs out, and just in general doing the thing. And I appreciate all of that. So, as we go, it is election day. Myself, I got a couple candidates in my local races that I'm still. I have some questions of, I think, before I actually decide which way to go. Just some stuff has kind of come up. In most cases, I have done like I said, it's just one race in particular. I'm not going to go into it here, but all the rest of my local stuff, and even my governor race, I know who I'm voting for. I've got a couple questions more on. Yeah, I think it's just my local race. And then to include, and this does not get a lot of coverage, but our SEC races, our state executive committee. Take a look at those folks. And, you make your own decisions, but take a look. There are, and again, depending on where you're seeing this, you'll have different people on those ballots, but take a look and, just make up your decision, because those folks do have some influence over the party in Tennessee. So those are important races also, but look into that for yourselves in your district. So we did have a busy week, I think, and so we'll just kind of start getting into it. Some of the things we'll talk about today. We will talk a little bit about the National Defense Authorization Act, which, good news, it failed from what I'm tracking. Honestly, a lot of these votes I haven't really dug into to see, but that one I've caught some news on it. And but yeah, it sounds like that one. But we'll talk about the NDAA because it ties into some other stuff, questions I've been asked this week, and then we'll talk about the more about our VA clinic here in McMinnville. We'll talk about the Taking Care of America's Veterans Act, and then I do have my haters are back, and some positive comments. I don't, I like to highlight those folks too that are providing positively. It's just some of it's kind of interesting to see what these haters will jump up and on Facebook, and not necessarily anonymously, but behind the keyboard and say, but they won't show up to town halls or the tailgate talks that I've been doing. So, but we'll hit that, and we'll just run through some of those. and take a look at them. And we'll talk a little bit about the schedule this week first. Let's run that down. I'll get the calendar up. There we go. Like I said, we're pretty busy this week. Yesterday was tailgate talk day, and that was pretty good on that. Some participation there, but we went actually signs the running around doing the signs, and it varies county to county, their rules regulations on your campaign signs. And I'll be honest with y'all, I cannot stand these signs. It's a thing. I understand it, but oh my gosh, these things just irritate me to no end. And then just the shenanigans and hijinks that are played with these signs. I mean, and sometimes it's not even. I saw yesterday, the people that are responsible for mowing, and the guy did his best to like go around and dip and duck and dodge and dive, and but still wound up bumping into a sign. And then what happens is like, oh my gosh, people are messing with my signs, and then that legit happens. We try and be pretty respectful, which is with sign placement to other folks. But sometimes stuff, you're like, all right, you do your best, or at least we do, to make sure the signs are, not blocking other folks, or at least, people can still see things. And yeah, but at the end of it, if people steal signs. I mean, we see this stuff all the time. And then hilariously enough, people, the signs will get, booby trapped. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, we're out running around doing signs, but we had tailgate talks yesterday, 3 of them. We were at the Veterans Memorial in Marion County. If you get a chance, go take a look at that. They have memorials in there for 2 Medal of Honor recipients. One, and I started looking it up, but I haven't been able to dig really far into the background. But one of them was out of Dunlap, it looked like, and the other was from Whitwell. So go check that memorial out. We did have, as I talk about this, I'll cover it just kind of up front here. And I had a bit of a conversation with a woman, I think it was, on Facebook about it. She replied to she had an issue with my location being the memorial, and her opinion is that it is tacky and disrespectful. I disagree with that as a veteran. I think what better way for this? I mean, I was, this is my tailgate talk. Just come out. Let's talk. It's not a rally. I'm not leveraging any of that. I don't think as part of a political campaign. I think it is very, very appropriate at memorials to have these discussions. This is what these folks gave the last full measure of devotion for is the Republic. And what better way, in my opinion, to honor them than to have these discussions at these memorials and to highlight it. It's a very well put together memorial, and but again, this we can have our own opinions. Sounds like it might have cost me some support, some votes. That's the case. So be it. I'm not going to please everybody, and I'm not going to try and accommodate everybody. And really, it was my first time in that area. I would have chose it. I might have moved it for different reasons. There's a park kind of more behind it that has some shade. I might have kind of relocated back around there as opposed to right there at the memorial. But at the end of the day, that would have been my reasoning, not just that not to do it at a memorial, because I'd over in Sequatchie County and Dunlap at their memorial, I've held one there. But like I said, if that costs us support, if that's the deal breaker, then my opinion is they may not have voted for me anyway. So that's fine. I'm not going to get them all. I just need to get most of them. So I appreciate that. But and it was if you go back, you can see the comments, pretty respectful dialogue, or little back and forth with us, and without reading it, sounds like they lost a family member in Vietnam, which is, unfortunate, and I'm sorry for that loss. But to me, again, at the end of the day, what better way to honor our veterans than engaging in some of this discussion at these memorials? And like I said, to highlight it, we draw out, one or two more people that haven't been to one of these memorials. I say that's a win. So anyway, tailgate talk there in Marion County, then to Chandler Hardwoods in South Pittsburgh, and then we wound up finishing out the day in Franklin County it was at the farmers market, and then we rolled into the ice cream social last night, and that was good. I think we picked up some more votes there, talked to some folks, a little more support. So we'll see how it all shakes out. So we'll see what the numbers work, and then August. We're still if you got some ideas, drop a comment or push over on Facebook and let me know. But we're looking at I still haven't figured out election day what we're going to do as far as there's some county GOPs that are spinning up some watch parties. I'm not sure yet here in Warren County what will happen. We'll probably, this is where we live, so we'll probably stick around close to Warren County. If some of the other counties do have parties, we'd probably make some trips and go check in on it at some of the other places. So there is that. Let's see, what was Wednesday? Yeah, another tailgate talk. Forget even. Oh, that was where the heck was that even at? Oh, that was out in that's right, Tullahoma. And then we did the mixer in Davidson County with the Republican women up there. That was good to attend. Glad we were able to go up there. Davidson County is we're trying to figure that one out still. We've done a picnic up there that the GOP did. This was the Republican women put this on. So it's Davidson County, so kind of go do what we can do up there. There was we'll get back to that. Another event up there. But we missed that one. Yeah, Tuesday we were running around doing signs and meeting folks. So that was the Monday, the 13th, and this is a candidate forum put on by Main Street Media. Some of their clips are coming up. I haven't looked to see, but I'm sure you can go find that on Facebook. Is also broadcast on Ben Lomond, the 6th, I think it is here. So you can go check that out. What did we do? Did we actually do something, or did I get to? No, we were just church on Sunday. There was we skipped out on this endorsing convention for the Tennessee Republican Assembly, and I would have been there. I think my membership might have expired. I need to renew with those guys. I like that organization, but I didn't push in enough and stay in contact enough to be considered for the endorsement. So we spent our time other ways. And then where are we at? On the 11th, what did we do? Yeah, so that was Cannon. So there was a Marion County Reagan Day. Hey, great job down there too, Marion County, and that was their first Reagan Day dinner. It was great. Lookout Winery is where it was at. That was a great place. And then we were out in Sequoia. Did we do that one? No, we didn't do that one. Missed that one. Cannon County, there was a meet and greet. And then, we were up in Davidson at Michelle Vetter, who's running for a state. I think it's a state house up there. She had a thing for her community we were invited to, so we went to do that. And then, so that was Saturday. So, we've been busy. The week coming up, we have got, it's just early voting. We do have some stuff that we'll be doing, but mainly I think we're gonna go to the polling centers, especially the ones where the party has, the tents out, or even candidates go out and help folks, wave our poll signs or whatever. And then, Tuesday, the 21st, we'll be on live with Warren First 931. That one, 9:00, we're starting that. So I'll be on with Kelly Walker Slaughter. And like I said, and you'll see that on Facebook at Warren First 931. And then that night it is, let's see, We'll see if we can get some more out about this, but there's a candidate meet and greet in Winchester that I'll be going to, and this will be broadcast live also. We've RSVP'd to that, and that starts at 5. So like I said, that's in Winchester, and then on the local radio station down there. Unfortunately, we didn't get all that into there. And then Wednesday. Back up. So tomorrow. Why? I was trying to skip tomorrow. I think where's that at? We'll probably go to this fire department. They're in Spencer. Maybe we'll ride out there. But for a breakfast fundraiser out there. But then at where's that at? 11:30 or 11 o'clock. 11 to 1:30 will be in Grundy County at the Grundy County Reagan Day picnic, and that's a pretty good time. And that is at we're showing 207 East Greenwell in Altamont. It's at the airport they have up there, so you can find that if you want to go. I actually met some ladies last night in Franklin County that have said they're going to go up there, attend. Monty Fritz will be there, and they wanted to hear him because they're still vetting candidates for governor. And they said definitely not Marsha Blackburn, but they wanted to take a look at Monty Fritz a little bit more before they went and voted. So we shared that information with that. So hopefully we'll see them again up there, and they'll they'll get to meet Monty Fritz, and he'll have the opportunity to earn their vote. So tomorrow we'll be up there, and then we're looking after that to go to run around in Manchester. There's a gun show going on down there that we'll probably go to and try and meet some folks down there. One of the guys with the campaign has got a table, but he's got some other stuff. He's not going to stay for the whole day, but we may still go to the gun show just to see. And then there's a meet and greet here in Warren County that we're going to go to, and then and it's not mine. It's one of the other candidates here that we'll go to, and I try to go to these, the meet and greets. It works for me, and a good idea that I meet candidates myself. So when I win this thing, that I'll have at least have met whoever wins it, and then Viola for a tractor pull. So I trying to think. I believe this will be the first tractor pull I've ever been to. I'm looking forward to it. And that, one of the things with this deal has been, getting to know not only my local community here in Warren County, but also surrounding communities. Tennessee is very interesting, very unique history, and very, like I said, very interesting. David Crockett, Civil War battles fought here, and just kind of on and on. The town squares that we have, the events that go on, there. Some of them will have first Saturdays on the square, or for Fridays. Here in Warren County, we have the music stuff on Friday evenings, and the different bands and that come through and play. So a lot of going on. Our farmers markets, and this is something that I advocate for, is shopping local. Get your you go to your local farmers markets. We're in the chute to hopefully pretty soon here we'll get one of the locally raised beef. We'll get a freezer full of that, and you talk about food security. Part of that is on us as individuals to do. And here in Tennessee, we're fortunate that we do have a lot of agriculture and farms and things of that nature. Unfortunately, what we have is ag bills or farm bills that favor corporate farms over local Tennessee farms. It's a horrible thing. We allow this to happen to us, and part of why I'm running is better representation. America first. Absolutely no reason that there's only 4 meat producers that control the vast majority of the production. It's a problem. And so, here locally, I'll buy this from, we'll buy this cow from like I said, friends of ours that produce the beef, and then it'll get processed in Spencer from a local, butcher. and why these folks have to deal with any type of federal regulation is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think he's moving any of it across state lines, so it's not interstate commerce. So, and that's some stuff we should fix. These bills we talk about protecting farmers. It should be our local farmers. None of these bills should favor corporations. I mean, we can set it up so that we're not punishing the companies, but it should be the individual. That's the job of the House rep, is to protect our interests, our as citizens. It's not to protect the interest of the corporations, which unfortunately that's a lot of what we have. And we as citizens need to be informed and pay attention to this stuff. So, okay, so that's tomorrow. Where were we at? Monday, talked a little bit about that. I think we got to the 21st. The 22nd, we will be in Manchester. I am, and that's at 2:30. I'm showing on here, and that's a Pray Tennessee type event, and I will be praying for the military. I've been asked to do that, and I'm absolutely honored to do so. And then also on Wednesday, we'll be heading into Rutherford County. The GOP there is putting on a meet and greet for Monty Fritz, and I'm going to attend that and say hey to Monty. I'm not ashamed or I'm not playing the game to say that I am voting for Monty Fritz. I've looked at all the candidates, and I believe Monty is the best choice. So that's who I'm voting for. Whether that, I'm just doing it, saying it. You figure out your own. You vet your candidates and figure out for yourself. So there we go. And then it looks like 23rd and 24th. Actually, the 24th is when I fly out to Reno. I'm representing my post out there at the national convention, so I'll be out there from the 24th through the morning of the 30th is when I get back, and we'll still be doing yeah. We got to because today is so next week. I'll let you all know now. We'll put this. I'll put this out when we do the schedule for next week, but I will do the live stream next week on the 23rd. So live stream next week will be on Thursday and not Friday because I'm flying out. So, but like I said, we'll on the next flyer we put out, that's when we'll be Thursday of next week, the 23rd, and then we're back on to regular schedule for the 31st. And then, we'll live. That actually works out pretty good. The 7th is we'll continue to live stream, and I'm looking to just continue the live stream through the general election. Given a win in the primary, we'll readjust if we are unsuccessful in this campaign to secure the nomination. But either way, we'll live stream on the 7th, and then we'll go from there. If I'm, we're running a prime or a general campaign, we will hammer away with the live streams. And then as I roll into being the candidate in the general, and then when that as the representative, we'll still do live streams, but that the schedule may adjust. As for right now, that's what we got for the duration of the voting cycle and this campaign cycle. So. Okay, so that takes us out through next week. All right, let's jump into some issues here. We'll talk about, because this is one of the campaign supporters that asked me about this, and specifically the NDAA. And for what he was asking me about was our ties and linking us closer to Israel. I would have had exception with that, and I would not. That would have been that would have broken the deal. I would have got a no vote, and I haven't. That one actually failed. I haven't seen how our rep voted. By my estimation, he would have voted yes. I'm not going to look it up here in real time, but and especially now, like I said, this is how it ties in. We talked about with the passing of Lindsey Graham, and condolences to his family. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but as a result of that, Benjamin Netanyahu's come out and had said the conversation he was having with Lindsey Graham, that Benjamin Netanyahu told him that Israel is successful, they're prospering, they don't need our money. Unfortunately, Lindsey Graham was telling him you're gonna take the money, which to me is ridiculous. And I am more than happy to accommodate Israel in that request, whether and that's whether they need it or not. To be, if we're being if we're talking about this situation, that we need to cut funding to that. We have no treaty with these folks. So with that, there's no reason, and they have not really been I don't think the ally that is typically portrayed that they are is our greatest ally. And even as you look around, I mean, even was it the vice president, I think, was talking about we're the last ally that they have. Okay, maybe we need to reassess this friendship if that's the case. And we're doing business with all those folks around them. I mean, we're engaged in a different kind of business with Iran, but as far as the NDAA and Israel and that, yeah, we need to cut that funding. Definitely need to look at the funding going into Ukraine as well. All of this money going overseas. We deficit spend at $2 trillion a year, and the results I don't think are satisfactory. And even outside of that, you cannot keep doing this. We've gone, and this is just looking at from when our congressional rep first swore in, which would have been in 2011. He won in 2010. But at that point in time, I think it was 2012 is what I looked up. Our national debt was at 14 trillion at that point, and we're pushing 40 trillion now. All of these people are part of the problem. We have got to have some tough conversations in this nation, and we have got to stop deficit spending. To me, that's the biggest threat we have to us right now is from one of the from within is that. So we have got to crack the code on that and say no. So that's where we're at. But all that to get back to the NDAA, and yeah, we do not need to be tying our militaries closer to this sharing of things. Knock it off. That is a horrible idea. Selling our first gen to other nations, our first gen technology to other nations. No, this is. I don't know why we can't figure it out with this stuff. That we put people in place and then wind up fighting them. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. And I look at Saddam Hussein, and why did we even do that? You guys got to be kidding me. So that's where I'm at. I guess and this is folks I've talked to. Trying to. They're the majority of them are done with this stuff, especially when it comes to Israel. There are those out there that still feel the biblical tie, which is not the case. We have no biblical tie to these people. The church has already been rebuilt the third time, and that was the resurrection. Now, as a nation, I mean, it's done. This is where we're at. So, as a nation, okay, they are, yeah, that's a rough one over there. I'm not a fan of what's going on. I'm not going to say, I'm pro us getting out of these foreign entanglements. So I'm not, yeah, let them figure it out on their own over there without our involvement. We do need to reel ourselves in. We can still be, the superpower. We can still do these things, but the way we're doing it needs to change. And probably more economically, we hear about China, and what a big threat they are. If that's the case, how about economically? We work that. Let's. And this is something within the scope of Congress. I mean, we saw this, and this is one of the biggest problems we have, or that I have too, with our Congress, is this America First agenda that President Trump ran on, and he is doing his best to implement this stuff. But the tariffs and all that's enumerated within the Constitution as a function of the Congress. And he's doing it. He tried it, and then we do Supreme Court and then judicial tyranny, which different subject, a different conversation. But then nothing, no follow up with Congress. They refuse to touch this mess because in a lot of it they've abdicated their responsibility to the president, which that's not. There's no provision in there in the Constitution for them to abdicate their responsibility over to the executive branch. It's just absolutely freaking ridiculous that we do this, and we the citizens allow it. Let's elect some people that have read it, can understand it, and believe in the 10th Amendment also, and putting things at their appropriate level within that. So, but they refuse to fix any of this stuff. Same thing with the birthright citizenship. That is up to the Congress to do. It's in the Constitution for Congress to do that stuff. So they can fix the birthright citizenship thing. They can fix that. We can fix we can put a pause on things, all the immigration, and that's my fight. That's where I stand. All of it. Stop. We have allowed an invasion to happen. And I would much prefer to do it this way, through a ballot box, through folks that actually want to fix this country and get us right. And this is one of the biggest ones. And we got a couple different things that are going on, but the big one you can see, and they're upfront about it. They have made they're not trying to hide it. And this is Islam, a takeover from within, and we've allowed it. We were founded, the United States of America was founded as a Christian nation. We are a Christian nation. Unfortunately, we've turned away from God. And until we turn back and we as Christians are, bold enough to speak up and say that that's the case, we're going to continue to lose it. And it happens. Look at Europe. That we need to look no farther than across the pond to see Europe and what's going on over there. And it's here. 100% it is here. Take a look around at the mosques that we have, the calls to prayer in places. This is incompatible with our form of government. It's incompatible. I pray for these folks. I don't wish them ill, but I just wish them gone out of our country. Go back from whence you came. All the refugees need to go away. It's just we can help assist in a different manner. In fact, some of this we've created. If you look into it, with all these Haitians, we created that problem. It was because of all the part of it, all the free rice we sent over there. Now you got rice farmers that can't sell their doggone rice because we've shipped in all the free rice. Initially, maybe it was a good idea, but now it's like, oh my gosh, this is we probably not the best analogy, but you get it with the zoo. Don't feed the animals, right? But we keep sending this free flipping rice over there. It creates some dependency on us. And then what do we do? It's follow the money. Now we're raising money. Oh my gosh, we got to feed the Haitians. Donate to our cause. Looking at you, Clinton Foundation. But at any rate, there we go. So that's NDAA, some of that other stuff, kind of running around. This is, we'll talk about the spending, the inflation, and our national debt. Look, we have got to understand that it is our government is creating a lot of these problems. You flood the market with easy money, and inflation is going to go up. That's just how it is. But they're creating the money, and it's not only our government, but the fractional reserve banking system. There's a lot to it, and I do have a grasp on this stuff. I prefer to look at it from a more simplistic point of view, in that it will pop. I don't know when. I mean, but it will pop, especially as we give or continue all these welfare programs. It's again, look at the Constitution, look at what is enumerated in there for our federal government to be doing. And this is a discussion, we can have, and I've talked about it here, but It is not up to the federal government to feed you or your kids. It is not up to the federal government to provide daycare for your kids. It's just not in there. Now, what they do have a responsibility to do is set up some conditions for success. And like through these farm bills, we have set up a system of dependency, and for our farmers as well as folks to eat. And we saw with the shutdown last year, nobody starved. The proper people started and organizations jumped into the breach and filled that gap and fed people. And that's the way it should be, is the local communities taking care of their own. Not, and look at just start talking about fraud, waste, and abuse in those organizations, in our food stamp program, in our daycare program, in our healthcare system. And again, I'm not, some of this stuff I'm not suggesting we just just end it. Some of it I am. I would be absolutely fine with voting in favor of a farm bill that gets rid of that, the food stamp program and feeding people, because it's ridiculous. Again, fraud, waste, and abuse. Get the federal government out of it. And again, not to say, and again, I'm not suggesting as a society we don't take care of folks. I'm saying let's get it done at the appropriate level, and the federal government is not the appropriate level to be doing that. If states want to take that up, that's fine. I say it's more the churches and your local organizations to do that. So there is that, and so our VA clinic, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I went and talked to those folks down there. They're still a little bit in limbo. Sounds like now they're being told that the Valor will run it to the end of the year. The VA sounds like has put out some job postings. I did see a different lady in there. I don't know if that was just just because I hadn't seen her before, if it was due to this, but that's kind of what we're looking at. To me, again, absolutely ridiculous. The plan that our representative has to just like, well, they typically, once the government starts doing something, and this may be very true. I don't, that maybe that is 100% the case, but still, to me, that's a horrible plan to expect that this clinic, just because now we've got the VA doing it, that it's just magically going to stay open. You need to stay engaged, and still nothing on the breakdown in communication between him and that agency as to why he didn't know, especially given this friendship he touts with the secretary of the VA. You're not close enough friends that this dude gave you a heads up on this closing. And again, this is something that in that VA meeting, in that town hall, they said that the VA referenced surveys and studies all the way back to 2019. And you're going to tell me this was just a bombshell closing? Yeah, I don't know. I'll take you for your word, kind of. But moving forward, what have you done to fix that breakdown in communication? Pretty weak to me. But at least now it is staying open. I would encourage all of y'all, if you moved your care, move it back. You make your own choices. If you want to make that drive to wherever else you're going, that's on you. But in fact, before they even mentioned or announced a reopening, I had made them move my care back there. I was riding that one out to the end. So, but again, make your own choices. You're adults. You got to advocate for yourselves. Individual responsibility is where we're at, and then holding accountable our elected representatives. So now with that, let's talk about the Taking Care of America's Veterans Act. Let me see where my notes are on this. Okay. Yeah. And this was HR 9237. Now, what we have going on is the VFW, American Legion, I think the number I saw was 22 veteran service organizations are saying, yeah, no thanks to this. Now, we got to be careful with what's going on here with this particular act. And to be fair, I looked at it this morning. I wanted to see how Congressman Desjardins voted, and the upfront is they have not voted on the final passage. on this. They voted on a it's a motion to recommit, which means they can go change stuff, do amendments, and this. And he voted no on this recommitment, and basically and that motion failed. So now, what should be able to have they took off, because that was July 16th. So that's I'm surprised honestly they were voting on Thursday, but they did. So they voted on that, and that was the motion to recommit. So no on that means that it should mean that the bill is still alive, but they just haven't voted on the final passage. So they took a break, and this is from what I've seen, this is the game they play, right? So now there's been a lot of push on this by the veterans service organizations to say no, to kill this thing. And the reason is that they are looking to fund, they've looks like we're rolling the Major Richard Starr Act into this and trying to fund it with a savings by refiguring or an adjustment to how tinnitus and sleep apnea are awarded for claims. And they're looking at like a 57, I think it was $1 million savings, because now we're changing how we're connecting veterans for tinnitus and sleep apnea, and how they will be compensated for it monetarily. And and I will tell you, as I'm sitting here, I can hear the e in my tinnitus, and I'm like, really, we're going to change how guys are going to get this, and same thing for sleep apnea. Um, and if there is a need for it, they are not articulating this real need to why we're doing this to future generations of veterans. So that's why we're opposed to it, and why I'm opposed to it too. It's like, what are we even doing here? Interesting that veterans and Social Security recipients, people that actually have skin in the game, and that's where we look to cut. We kind of turn over to a second for Social Security. The age group I'm in, us Gen Xers, are being told to expect a 30% cut, which to me is unconscionable. Like, are you guys kidding me right now? First of all, and I will say, I've been very vocal about it. I have said this a lot of times, but this Social Security program is completely unconstitutional and it needs to be ended. But we can't just stop this one, because again, with without my consent, I have had my paycheck garnished at every paycheck I've received. Well, as a W-2 employee, I have a some 1099 stuff there, but even then, I was on the hook to pay into this mess. And for you guys to now tell me, like, hey, sorry, we have this horrible system that we have to keep going, but in order to keep it going, you're not going to get all of your money back. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's the conversation we need to have: is how do we get the federal government out of this unconstitutional program? And again, it's a dependency, because what's the fight? And someone clips out this business, and then that's, oh my gosh, these Republicans are trying to take away your Social Security. Well, let's ask some other questions about it. Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm not trying to take it away. I'm trying to end the program, but the reason is that it's a horrible, horrible program. Now, even while still unconstitutional, the $1,000 baby savings account that President Trump started, I truly believe that's unconstitutional. I don't know how they worked it in with the money. That's neither here nor there to me at this point right now. But a much better plan, I would, and as long as we're doing it out of an abundance and not out of our deficit, then I'm okay with it. We can have some of these things, these discussions, and as long as the federal government is the best agency. But not while we're $2 trillion annually deficit spending. That's a horrible idea. So, but that's a better plan. Like, all right, boom, here's your $1,000. It'll grow interest. You can contribute to it. And I would even advocate, let's fix our taxes, and not do it as a tax code, but do it legislatively. And here's the deal. on this earned income, W-2 type stuff, 1099 type stuff, you pay a flat rate. I would be, let's talk, but it has to be less than 10%. No exemptions, no loopholes, no nothing. You just, you figure it out at the end of the year, and I would say even quarterly to do that. And then the government lives within its means. Now, your investment income, it needs to be less than the earned income. I think we should encourage people to save. I would think that one should be 3% or less. Would be my point. But even at that, less than 10. And then again, just as some ideas. I'm not going to try and talk through an entire restructuring of our tax code, but here in what I got 15 minutes left. But we need to start having discussions. This 6,000 pages or whatever it is of tax code, not tax law, tax code, is just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So it should be a lot easier. In fact, I wrote one up at one point that was less than 10 pages. I have that somewhere. But that's some legislation I start carrying. Let's fix this and make it easy. And then you want to talk about fair. That's fine. If it's a flat tax rate, okay. And then I'd be okay with a small consumption tax, so a sales tax. And then again, government lives within its means. We have people that can figure out all this math, and then you start budgeting from there, and then prioritize, within the scope of the Constitution, and then and obviously those things outside of the scope that the government is doing that we can't just yoink. Social Security. Talk about your veterans, and that's another discussion to have too. Is the VA system? I think we can do better, and part of that would be dismantling, like, the vast majority of the VA system. For our healthcare, I don't know why in this particular day and age. Let's catch up with the times. That as an idea, we just give veterans, here's your thumb drive, or your card, whatever, but there's something portable you can carry around with you. Probably the folks that do a lot of traveling, again, the rule, you're going to go pick your own primary care provider. That should be your business to make these docs jump through hoops to be certified or qualified or whatever. And then same thing with the accepting this stuff. It should just be a given. Like, they're going to bill it. And again, there a slight VA to put a check on folks, so the fraud, waste, and abuse is caught. So we're not seeing, like with our adult care, and I don't know that was federal, but thousands of people, like, no. So there should be a small portion of the agency to overwatch that stuff and make sure these docs aren't, like, all right, well, how do you have 7,000 veterans and I think that would be a rarity, to be honest, but we still gotta check and balance it. But give me a card and let me know. Go pick your provider, and then they can bill the government at the going rate, which would probably be a lot less if the government was not so involved in everybody else's healthcare. Again, show me the Constitution, and we can have the general welfare discussion. General welfare means it benefits everybody. If you're taking from one to give to another, that's not benefiting the one you're taking from. I don't care how much they're making, how much you think they should pay, that what their fair share is. My idea of the fair share is percentage, so of what you make. It's not. Again, it's show me the Constitution. Now, if we want to have the general welfare discussion, okay, that's fine. But I think the threshold should be at least 80% that it should benefit, and it should not be to the detriment of anybody else. If you can't show me how we're helping that 20% without hurting that other 20%, we can talk. But again, the baseline is we start at the Constitution. Actually, we start with God first. We shouldn't be killing babies. I do think it's in the right place. That has come up too, is the abortion issue. Currently, the way the Constitution is written in the 14th Amendment, I do believe that it's in the the appropriate place. Federal dollars, there should be zero federal dollars going to Planned Parenthood. That's an easy one. We stopped that mess. A lot of these other, programs, NPR, you can't tell me that's benefiting 80% of the people in this nation. Absolutely isn't. I would be fine. Let's gut that agency. They've even said they only rely. It's not their main source of income. They've got people contributing to it. So we cut sling load on that mess. And then I talk about Planned Parenthood, but the other side of that is true, that the in vitro stuff, that research, all that's not on the federal government to do. Now it is in there to hold patents for a short period of time, and I think that's another thing we need to look into. I've heard. I talked to somebody within the last couple of weeks about these patents on the pharmaceutical companies, that they're allowed to hold these patents on these drugs for 30 years. To me, that's well past what I think the intent of our founders had. And I think typically, I could be wrong. I'm completely going by kind of what I've maybe heard, not what I know. I'm telling you what I heard, not what I know. But it's like 7 years. That's long enough to hold a patent. And we have this idea that we have to crush anybody else. Greed. Unfortunately, that's part of our nature. But God was a creator. There was abundance, so it's out there. And hemp and cotton can get along. Hemp, cotton, and nylon. There's a market for all of it. You're all going to make plenty of money. Let's give folks a choice in this. And again, this is where, and I will advocate for hemp all day long. For it just, do your own research on this, and it's a way better product. It does require one additional step in the processing of it, but thousands of uses for this plant. And it's not the reefer, it's not the marijuanas. These are in the same line, but these are completely different things, mostly different things. But hemp as a product is much superior to cotton. The plant itself has thousands of uses. So why we're squashing this crop is absolutely beyond me. And our representative is all about it. He voted to squash this stuff, and then he's on with 99.7. I think it was Matt Murphy he was on with, talking about, oh my gosh, the kids are getting they're overdosing, and another, knock it off, dude. Do overdoses happen? Sure, but what's the result of an overdose on on the CBDs or even marijuana? If you're smoking the wacky tobacco, or if you're getting hopped up on the goomies, you sleep it off. It's not what happens if you overdose on alcohol. You die. And I'm not to say that I looked. I don't know if there's any documented cases of someone dying from an overdose, strictly of an overdose of marijuana, THC. It could be out there, but it's not really a thing versus alcohol, or even our prescription drugs. Take a look at that. How many people are killed by prescription drugs? How about we get rid of the prescription drugs? That may be a thing. So, but anyway, that's we and it's lobbyists. It is lobbyists that come in and buy the influence, and unfortunately, the hemp industry has not been able to catch up and fight this mess, and that's where we are. So, I think I meandered off the VA clinic for that, and in fact, it kind of ties in. I guess I can tie this back in. But this is some treatments for veterans, with the CBD, and not just veterans, but cancer patients. It's a pain reliever, and it's a better product than the pharmaceuticals. It is. Take a look at all the side effects of all these meds that we pumped into ourselves, or attempt to. It's about the money. It's about the pharmaceuticals making money, about the corporations, then that money flows back into politics to buy stuff. And this is my commitment. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking the PAC money from the pharmaceuticals. I'm not taking APAC money. That's the money from Israel. I'm not taking it. I'm not doing it. there are PACs I will take money from. I'm not even going to lie to you, because unfortunately, until we can somehow get enough people up there to fix this mess, and get some of this big money out of politics. That was the whole point of the Federal Election Commission. That has failed miserably, was to get the money out of politics. And until we can figure out a way to do it, and I'll tell you, the way to do it is to rotate people. I've been said this a lot. My commitment is no more than 12 years. If somebody else comes along and we the people decide 2 or 3 terms is enough, absolutely. Absolutely. I will not even be mad at that. I had some other things I was looking to do, but I was, called into this to run, because we are facing some serious threats in this nation. And until we get people up there that are actually wanting to lead us into, and to do their jobs, that's the biggest complaint I have really right now. I do support our president and what he's doing, but what I don't support is these legislators running around just trying to out Trump each other. You know what? What are you doing to support the president, other than cheerleading? Hey, great, like, I'm the, fight, fight, fight. It's just it's ridiculous. What are you doing? What legislation are you carrying that is actually America first? That is actually getting us down the road? Why aren't we fixing birthright citizenship? Why aren't we cutting the deficit? At the Marion County dinner, I sat there and listened to someone get up on one of the speakers up there and talk about us being fiscally conservative. You cannot tell me you absolutely, I don't know how you can look somebody in the eye and say, as a party, we're fiscally conservative when we're spending to the tune of $2 trillion annually at the deficit, and we're sending billions of dollars overseas to people that have no love for us or are trying to infiltrate us and take us over. That to me just blows my mind. So, and I've got to fight within the party, winning this, but we've got to do it. I'm telling you, it's absolutely, we have got to do this stuff. So, oh, you know what? I'm sad a little bit. We didn't even get to comments really on the socials, but that's fine. Go read those. I did respond to them some on this time, and like I said, and I appreciated the lady that commented on my tailgate talk. We can have a discussion, and like I said, I'm fortunate if that's the deal breaker for a vote and family support of me. Okay, that's something I'm not going to change. I will continue to do these. I don't have any scheduled. Look for them. Maybe next week we'll do some, but I think we'll kind of focus some other directions, and I think what I'll try and do is do them in conjunction with at the polling areas. And like I said, this is not something loud that I do. I'm not, I park there with the truck, with my sign up, which is well within the law to do, as long as I'm 100, whatever. They mark it off for us. The election commission is good about that stuff. So I'll park in an appropriate area and just hang out. Hey, and then, and this is something I'm curious about with the signs. If I can do it out there, I'm going to ask folks as an exit poll, did you vote for anybody just based on the sign you saw out there? I am super curious about this, just because of it's hard to even express how much I dislike doing these signs. I don't want to go as far as hate. I understand the whole deal in it, but yeah, I am not a fan of this mess. So, but if I can, like I said, and I'll post as I go to places. It may, if you happen to be in the area and you can come say, hey, I'd appreciate that. If not, but I'm going to try and do my part here to kind of help within the parties. I do think that's a part of the job as a Republican. After elected, you come back and help those county parties be available, be accessible. If I can draw people in to help those local parties out, I'm here for it. So there we go. Yeah. All right. I think we ran it down. Like I said, I'm a little sad. We missed talking about some of the haters, but like I said, a lot of positive comments on there too. And I appreciate every one of these comments, positive, negative, indifferent. I do appreciate it. I don't know if these haters have figured it out, but it helps the algorithm. So come on, bring on the hate. I don't take any of this stuff personally. A lot of these people, they don't know me, especially if you're just jumping on like, you're a Republican, so you're this. No. I typically I will try and look at somebody or what they're doing on the Democrat side, and that's one of the things. In fact, I talked about that in Marion County. We have got to be able to reach into the middle, because understand these Democrats is the Democratic Socialists of America take over that party. That we have got to be able to reach out to these folks and just hammering away at every just carte blanche. These Democrats are crazy. There's those in there, and I saw that in Marion County that these people wake up and just think about it. Even as Republicans, as we see, things like Marsha Blackburn soften our stance on abortion. We wake up one day and the Republican Party is completely different. How are we going to feel, and where are we going to go? So we've got to, one, go back to our actual values and standing on that, and then talking with these folks. Obviously, you can see the ones that are stuck on stupid and are bat crap crazy. That's not the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that are in the middle. And I've talked to some of these folks, and some of them are actually running, and I will believe them when they tell me this until they prove me otherwise. Some of them I don't believe. I will have to see something different out of them. Because again, you got to be the Abigail Spanbergers in Virginia. You got to be careful of that, but we got to be willing to engage and talk to people. So, okay, like I said, Thursday next week is when we will be on. And what did we say the date was on that? It'll be the 23rd. Yep. So the 23rd is when we will live stream next week, and then the 31st, and then the 7th. And then either way, outcome of this election, we will have a determination. We should have a determination on the 7th where we go from here. I'm looking forward to it being that I'm the nominee. I think there's a current for it out there. I appreciate votes. I'll ask for them. Absolutely. If you think I'm the guy to get it done, I would absolutely appreciate that vote, and we'll get back to the Constitution. So like I said, let's help me get DC out of Tennessee. Until the next one, this will defend.